All right, so it's Monday, the 17th of May, and I think today is going to be one of the most important updates for Burst in a long time. It's a big pivot that I think it's important to capture as it happens because, a lot of things just happen on a day-by-day basis. So what am I trying to say? What's the big pivot? What's the big deal? If you've been following my videos, what you've been watching me do is kind of struggle with launching the big company because it's the second company, so I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, it's a much, much bigger lift than the first company that I had was. Launching a big company like Burst, especially launching the Kickstarter, is such a tremendous undertaking that you have to really understand and appreciate how many levels of complexity there are. Just making the video for the Kickstarter costs thousands of dollars, lots and lots of planning, scripts, the shoot, the actors, et cetera, and that's like 1% of the campaign. And the campaign is like 1%-ish of the whole company, right? So campaign, how to write the campaign, what should be in it, how it should flow, the structure of the story, what images should it have, what reward levels, what pledge levels, what stretch goals, if any. It's a science that many professionals don't know how to do sometimes. And the Kickstarter itself is just, a fraction of the whole company, right? Because what's the company? The company is a subscription company. So first of all, what's the back end that's meant to process all the subscriptions and all the inventory flows in and out and inventory levels and SKUs? And warehousing, right? And fulfillment and shipment and delivery and procurement. And that's just like, even that's a fraction of what's involved within your company that you have to learn. I have to learn from scratch because this is not my native industry. So my first company did not involve any of those fields. Not the Kickstarter, not the video, although maybe a little bit, but not the Kickstarter as a thing. Nothing with physical products, nothing with inventory, nothing with warehousing, nothing with SKUs or anything like that. So I'm learning a bajillion things at the same time, like in parallel, trying to master them all so I don't, because any one of those things not working means the whole company fails, right? If the Kickstarter doesn't work, then the company doesn't have money. If the video for the Kickstarter doesn't work, the Kickstarter doesn't work, right? If your video works and your Kickstarter works, but your inventory management doesn't work, then you fail. If your warehouse management doesn't work, then you fail. If you can't get new products, if you don't know how to make things on time, or if you don't have the right relationships, you fail. You can have lots of money in the Kickstarter and then still fail because you don't have any product behind the campaign. There's like 1,000 ways to fail, and there's only one way to thread that needle and do all these things correctly. So what I'm saying is, and this was the theme that I explained and I captured in previous videos, right? Launching a new company is overwhelmingly difficult. But what I'm trying to get to in this video is not that only, but also this, that the pressure on the Kickstarter as a source of the money is very, very high, as is the pressure to figure out inventory and back end, the warehouse, everything else about the company. That's also very high. But those things you can figure out with time, I feel like, if you've got the Kickstarter piece worked out. Like, that's the one piece I just don't know enough about. And I feel like that's maybe one of the most important pieces because that's the money into the company that's going to yield everything else working out. So I'm working overtime in my head, in my brain, on weekends, evenings, nights, mornings, every minute of every day, of how to make this thing work. How to make this one big campaign, like a fundraising round in like an equity round with investors, but in this case without any investors, just with customers, but like a nice huge chunk of money, like 6 figures, something out of a fairy tale, right? And that's gonna enable everything else. That's been my mindset this whole time. Somehow I have to engineer a 6-figure yielding campaign that's going to open the doors and make everything else work. And that's so difficult because how do you just get 6 figures in any campaign? I mean, that's like a one in a million type success story. right? And acting and planning on a lottery win is not a solid strategy. So what is a solid strategy in the Kickstarter space? Like what is a strategy? What is an approach that's a lot less lottery based, a lot less chance based, where you're not just rolling the dice and if you win, you win, but if you lose, then you lose everything. Like that's not a strong or reliable or a dependable plan for me. But I've had no choice in adopting it because I just saw no other choice. How do you have a Kickstarter that gives you the money without the overwhelming risk of it not working, which almost all campaigns don't work, and almost none of the campaigns ever made on Kickstarter raise 6 figures. So I'm trying to like win multiple different levels. It's ludicrous. I didn't find a way, I didn't know a way to mitigate that risk, to manage that risk until now. Last night on a Sunday, I was listening to the Crowd Crooks podcast. What blew me away was this idea that my winner takes all one mega Kickstarter idea is a mistake. It's unnecessary. It's not needed. Why does it need to be the one big Kickstarter that's gonna crush all the records? I mean, that's fine. That's great if it does, but like I said, that's risky. That's almost impossible. Why not serialize it? Why not have a series of campaigns and in fact let the first one be kind of meh if it needs to. Let it fail, or not fail, but let it be kind of struggling in the beginning. That's fine, right? Like that's exactly what you should do in a startup, is be adaptive, be nimble. It's very, very important to be nimble. The agile mindset, the whole thing with lean startup mindset, it's very, very important. It's like the most important thing to be lean in a startup. But for some reason, I saw no way to be lean with the Kickstarter campaign piece of it. Like that felt like that needed to be the one mega skyscraper from the get-go, from the first, me never having had one before, notwithstanding. Now I'm seeing the lean approach to Kickstarters through this genius crowdfunding expert. And that's the big change, the huge adaptation, the switch in the mindsets that we're gonna pursue. So starting today, I'm gonna call my team. We'll have a call with the Kickstarter team as well. And we'll readapt our strategy to be a lot less based on a 6-figure luck of the draw and a lot more based on a 4-campaign strategy over the course of 2 years with almost zero risk. With similar amounts of money in the end, but it's almost zero risk because you launch the first one, it struggles, you almost get no money, you learn a ton, you have a second one, it gets maybe a little more, you have a third one, you really get good at that, you get the fourth one, you're like the best or, you know, an expert at it. And after the 4 campaigns, you've raised as much money as you would have in this one mega campaign, maybe even more, but with zero risk attached to it. So we'll try that strategy. I'll keep you guys posted. Peace.